drug abuse, cancer,
measles, diabetes, AIDS, cancer,
drug abuse, cancer,
measles, diabetes, AIDS, cancer,
drug abuse, cancer,
measles, diabetes, AIDS, cancer,
A whole new level of convenience and comfort awaits you when you shop at Rise and Shine Supermarket and Hardware Supplies, Griffin Lane, Grenville. Convenient, because we are open Sunday to Sunday. We're even at your service on public holidays. Comfort, because we are easily accessible to the physically challenged. Free Wi-Fi is available while you shop, and bags come at no charge. Everyday low prices and excellent customer care. Adequate parking available. We supply everything you can possibly think of. Family and home supplies, fresh meat, vegetables, and personal care products. All brands of cooking gas at affordable prices. You can send in your order, have it pulled, or pick up express.
What does it take to be an amazing woman? Lots of me time. Amazing women are classy, fancy, and a little sassy. It's the drink for me. Cheers! Sometimes you've got to show them who's boss. Alpha male? Nah, alpha females are more amazing. Cheers to securing the bag. We make time for ourselves, for work, friends, and we certainly make time for passion. We're simply amazing. Amazing cream liqueur for the amazing woman in you.
We support you at every stage of your life.
For business,
for your education,
for your financial freedom,
for that new ride.
Upgrade your life with the Communal. Contact us today.
drug abuse.
Good evening once again, folks. Welcome to Doctor on Call, our usual Tuesday evening program at this time. Well, the month of October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and actually we have not done a program on that yet for the month, and so this evening we will be looking at breast cancer awareness. As a matter of fact, in Grenada, they do have a theme for it. It's preventing cancer, beating COVID-19, and of course, there's always some connection with underlying conditions and COVID-19. So, of course, in our discussions, at some point, COVID-19 will come up. Dr. Sonia Nixon is with us as she always is. Doc, good evening and welcome to Doctor and Call.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here. Good evening to everyone in Grenada after the lovely rain this afternoon. Short but great.
Yes, you have a lovely jersey, Doc. I like it very much. Lovely colors.
Jersey, every year, this is the 10th year, the bank, First Caribbean Bank, would have had its walk to raise funds for cancer. And usually the funds that are raised from the sale of T-shirts, from sponsorships by corporate entities, go towards the Cancer Society and Pink Ribbon, which is a support group. Cancer Society overarches all cancers. Pink Ribbon Group, however, provides support for women who have been victims of breast cancer in particular. Right. So also when my because that's the color for breast cancer.
Okay, wonderful. So October is usually recognized as Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Why the need for breast cancer awareness? Let's talk a bit about that before we get into all of the conversation and why people with breast cancer should avoid getting COVID-19 and all of that. Let's talk about Breast Awareness Month briefly.
I remember growing up as a young person, and this is what happened. Often when you have diseases that can be so severe, there's a certain amount of stigma, negative impressions, privacy, shame, all of those things related to cancer in general, and breast cancer, of course, because a woman's femininity is emanated in the fact about her breast are one of her sexual characteristics. This is just natural, and I don't mean it in a sexual, demeaning, deviant way. I mean the secondary sexual characteristics of the female are those which are developed to take care of of an offspring. So breast and breastfeeding. But it's also part of a woman's beauty, apart from developing breast, she gets rounded, her hair grows, her face looks different, and all the rest of she has a different butt and everything. Those are secondary sex characteristics and makes a girl look totally different from her twin brother. But the breast has had a lot of sexual undertones attached to it. The truth is, though, breast cancer is often the most commonly occurring cancer in women, and it's very important that we understand how this organ that is so important for human procreation, subsistence, because that's where you're encouraging women to breastfeed their children, can become such a second part of our body, can create so much shame if you have to remove the breast. Women feel that they lose a part of them. A lot of women lose their spouses because the men no longer feel that their wives are as sexy as they could have been. So it's important that we understand and that we can talk about it. Because if you look at associations like the Susan G. Komen Foundation in the US, they made breast made it look sexy, made it look like something that was attractive. Let's talk about this. Let's get together. Let's provide facilities for women to learn about themselves, their general health, to learn about breasts and breast disorders. Cancer is just one of breast disorders. You can have other non-cancerous things happening to your breast. Let's talk about how we can get women screened early. Let's talk how we can educate them about lifestyle to prevent developing cancer. Let's talk about how families are affected. Let's talk about what treatments there are. So there are a lot of rings to the onion as to why we have to keep this whole awareness. We have to talk about it all the time, remind people. The last year, almost 2 years, because COVID soon have birthday, okay? Coronavirus soon have birthday. The last year, a lot of things that are so very important, so very fundamental to general health got I wouldn't say swept under the carpet, but was sidelined as the whole pandemic kind of took us over, kind of swallowed us and put us in there in a state of confusion, in a state of worry, in a state of not understanding where we go from it. While other things happened, it meant that a lot of resources on the government's part had to be siphoned into preventing the pandemic, because it's very emergent situation, very urgent situation. We had to make sure that there were funds to take care of those things. We've just seen what happened in the month of September, which we'd like to forget. But that's a part of our reality, that we had this pandemic upon us in the most devastating way that we could probably never have imagined. So other things that seem insignificant but are not were kind of by default put into the limelight, put out of the limelight. We can't forget to remember those things are important. And why we can't forget? Because we know that people with cancers in general, especially when in a poor state of health, are at greater risk for becoming very, very ill or dying from complications of COVID-19. So we have to take all of these things into consideration. And hence, that constant reminder, that constant awareness must be one of the predominant activities, one of the things that we always do, always have. Plus, there are women who are all there having challenges and really need to know that they're not forgotten. Their families need to know that people still remember that this is a possibility. The women out there who need to, all of us females need to remember that. Let me go put my breast here, let me do this, let me do that, so that I can go through life with one less problem. So,
right.
Hence the reason maintain this awareness.
Right. Doc, the risk of breast cancer is due to a combination of factors, of course, in women. What are some of these factors that can eventually lead to that?
So, know that breast cancer will happen if you're a woman. You're at greater risk,
right?
Because men can have breast cancer. Women have a greater possibility just by being a girl, just by being born female. Your chances of, because you have more breast tissue, there's no possibility. But there are other factors that can cause such. If you have your mother or your auntie or your sister, that kind of first degree family have had breast cancer, there's a possibility that you have a risk. You may have a gene, or you may not have that gene, but you are at greater risk if you have first degree family, even if you do not have the gene. You have to do your mammograms, do whatever investigation to look out. Always be screening if you have. If you're between the ages of 45 and 55, your risk increases. Okay, so women who between 45 and 55, that's what we see. It doesn't mean that women who are 25 or 27 or 32 cannot have breast cancer. It does not mean that women who are 60 and 65 cannot have breast cancer. Like I tell you, I have seen my oldest patient I diagnosed was 92 or 94 years old, right, with breast cancer, which eventually all of a sudden just got crazy and took her life, believe it or not. So age, gender, relationships, if you smoke, smoking on its own increases the possibility of any cancer whatsoever. Right. But women who smoke are at greater risk. Women who have never born children are at greater risk. Women who have never breastfed are at greater risk. Women who have taken hormone replacement therapy. So in the 90s, in the late 80s, 90s, even early 2000s, if a woman had her uterus and her ovaries removed, and doctors just did all of it because they got into the habit of giving hormone replacement therapy. So let us say you had what we call a surgical menopause induced, because once you remove the ovaries, right, and once you remove your uterus, there's no more period, because that is where the whole genesis of the whole thing, the whole manufacturing of what becomes a period occurs in the uterus, right? So if you remove a woman's uterus, whatever problem, whether she has a cancer, whether she has fibroids, whether she has inflammation of the uterus, whatever it is, whatever problems are going on, right? You induce menopause. But women can go into menopause naturally and have a lot of symptoms of hot flashes. Ask your girlfriends about it. You know, we tease our friends about their private summer. It is a very despairing experience. So if you sit with your friends in a nice, cool, air-conditioned room, and all of a sudden, no, I didn't feel hot. And this woman flashes, but that's because the estrogens, the female hormone, right, the hormone that predominates in female, right, become deficient. They disappear as the ovaries start to go away, as the ovaries start to function less. And they're the ones that help you to regulate body temperature. So a woman who is going through her menopause would experience these flashes. Literally like somebody took a blowtorch and put it upon you and all this sweating profusely and embarrassment. So, you know, and the dryness of the vaginal area, the skin becomes dry and different, all those things that make women feminine tend to disappear, right? So what happens, the doctors usually would give these women who have had a hysterectomy with the ovaries removed, these artificial hormones. We still give it to some patients, but with much caution, because sometimes the symptoms are really difficult for some people to cope, even women who are going through the menopause. In the case of surgical menopause, however, you may be, you know, it's easy. Everybody will just give you a replacement. And then we saw that women were having increased breast cancer.
Right.
And that is where evidence-based comes. People have been asking a lot of questions about, the vaccine. We listen to what people say. We see what happens to people. They discover that a lot of these women who are developing breast cancer after many years were women who had been placed on hormone replacement therapy. Hence, the whole prescribing of hormone replacement therapy has been diminished to, you know, the absolute need. All right. So that's another one. Did I say smoking? Yes.
Yes.
Alcohol consumption is more and more showing up as a factor for many cancers. Certainly in younger women under the age of 45. So even the 20s, who consume a lot of alcohol, and we know what we've been doing these days. I heard some of our women have been making the men look like they're drinking water. Okay, so our young women have to be very cautious, because we've seen an increase in the amount, the incidence, the new cases of cancer in women who drink. And of course, obesity, which is a new risk factor for everything as well. Obesity as a risk factor for cancer. We usually talked about it, about how obesity can lead you to have hypertension and diabetes. Now we see that women who are overweight, over 35% of the recommended weight for their height, tend to have the potential for developing cancer.
Right.
You never forget it.
Right. What about Yeah, I was asking, in nowadays we have very young girls, going through menstruation, probably in some cases before the age of 12. Is that a risk as well?
So very early menstruation and very early menopause also are risk factors. So women who start period early and women who reach their menopause early are also at risk for developing breast cancer. Those are two factors I forgot.
Right. And also, what about of course, genetic mutations can be a major role if it runs.
Those things that will cause their own genes to mutate. So if you're working in a place where there's a lot of radiation and all the rest of it, I would imagine that we may have seen an increase in some place like Chernobyl, where women are exposed to all of this radiation in a very short period of time, and not, your body doesn't get enough time to eliminate it. Or you live in, if you have, foods that have a lot of radiation and all those stuff, you can develop breast cancers.
Right. So let's talk briefly about some of the symptoms. What can women look for? That can probably raise a little alarm somewhere.
So, we just talked about risk factors, and women always have to take into consideration the risk factors. And what is the possibility? What is my possibility of developing breast cancer? So you may want to go ahead, we've known some of the movie stars like Angelina Jolie, who had bilateral removal of her breast, bilateral mastectomy, right? Simply because she discovered that she had the gene and her mom had died of breast cancer. So you can always be guessing and go looking, and if you want to take precautions to ensure that you don't have. If you have no breast tissue, you cannot develop breast cancer. Okay? So that's one thing. So you may not have any, but you also may not have any symptoms, especially in the early stages of cancer. You have a small lump growing, I didn't feel anything. But then you may find a lump one day, and again, do you know that the majority of lumps are discovered by your partner?
Right.
So partners, whoever your intimate partner is, must be aware, right? That, if you find something that doesn't seem normal, you can speak to the woman about it, and ask her to get checked, right? So like I said, you can just be there and have no symptoms, and then one day you bounce up on a lump. So I guess the most significant thing is finding a lump that is usually hard, like, I tell you what, it had like a, what do you call it? Sorry, all other names are coming from the other islands, it doesn't come. What's the name of that plant where you have a lot of little yellow fruits stuck up together?
Yellow fruits?
And it's damsel.
Oh, okay.
Kind of like so try to imagine a dry pea, a dry pea, right? One single dry pea that is really, really hard. That is what it feels like. But sometimes it's not as regular as smooth. So that's why I always say think of a damsel seed, how it feels. And it can be that small. It can be big as a plum seed. It can be big as a pear seed. It can be big and hard as a mammy apple seed. Okay? And people are going to refer to a lump as a seed. I find a seed in my breast.
Right.
Okay? No, the truth is that breast tissue is normally lumpier. So you kind of have to know your lumps, okay? You'd have a lot more lumpy tissue in women who are breastfeeding because you have all these glands that are full up of milk, they're engorged, and women to provide milk for the infant. You have women who have cysts, and cysts. Think of a cod liver oil capsule or vitamin D capsule. It's a transparent thing with liquid inside. Okay, so those are cysts, and sometimes they just come. Sometimes the hormonal influence, they just come, but those are non-cancerous. Those are not malignant. Those are benign. Okay, those are benign, and some women have more predisposition or more likely to have cysts in their breast than others. Okay, and then you can have what we call fibroadenoma, which is fibrous tissue in your breast that gets very enlarged. It gets swollen, and especially around your period, it gets very tender and uncomfortable and all the rest of it. But it feels different because, first of all, it could be a little bigger. Second of all, it's tender. Usually that seed that you find in the breast is tend to be all on its own. For some reason, those cancerous lesions, they walk by themselves, they grab onto everything, they pull. So you might find when a woman's breast is examined, you have what we call orange skin. You know, orange skin is that you have these little dimples on the skin, like little holes. That is orange skin, and that's a sign that you do have a tumor, that something that's there. Usually a malignant tumor that's pulling everything because it doesn't really move like the other little lumps that you might find in there. And like I said, it's hard. You can't miss it. That is hard. Okay. Also, you might just see like the changes in your skin. If you leave a cancer long enough untouched, untreated, uninvestigated, some women have these wounds that are what we call fungated, burst open. Like you have a wound, you have a sore that open and leaking, pus, and it gets infected. Right? That's a fungated lesion, and that is really way at the end. This is really a lot when you've had severe problems, when you've had your cancer for a long time, and this thing is growing. Because basically, a cancer is the cells of an organ just growing abnormally.
Right.
Okay? In the case of these cancers, they grow all over the place because you can have a lump. A benign lump will grow and stay right there, okay? Right there. A cancer lump, not into this foolishness, it's all over the place and try to eat off all the food and really make you very sick. It migrates. Cancer lump will go to, you might find that you find a gland, a lymph node on the, and that might be the first thing you recognize. Hey, where did this come from? Because this cancer behaving like a fool, okay, and going all over the breast, and you may not feel the cancer yet, but it's already blocking your lymph nodes, and your lymphatics, your system that takes away the white cells and do all the clearing up and stuff, right? So you may have, like I said, a red thing. You may see abnormality in the size of your breast. So if you have a big lump, it can change the size and the shape of your breast. You may find that when you lift your arms to examine your breast, that one doesn't lift. There's a little lag, it's a little slower in moving, or it doesn't move as far and as high, okay? Or probably don't even move at all, depending on how much is adhered to the chest wall. So those are some of the signs that you can see. In some women, you might find like the nipple, the skin around the areola. The areola is the black part of the breast, the dark part of the breast, and then the nipple comes from there. You might find that you have scaly skin because if you have a lump right under there, it's going to kind of prohibit the circulation. So the skin goes through changes that there isn't enough nutrition and oxygen. Or you might just have pus or blood or some strange secretion coming out of your breast. So those are some of the.
Right. I came across something though, Doc, on the risk factors. Just want to jump back a bit. When you speak of someone having dense breasts, just explain that briefly.
So young people and women generally who have not had children, right? There's a lot that the structure of the breast, it hasn't been used. Once you start breastfeeding, the breast gets a little softer, right? It doesn't go back to that thing. So it has to do with the architecture of the breast and the uprights that contain it and all the rest. So, in women who have not had children, they tend to have, the breast remains kind of dense because you have aging and you have fibrous tissue coming there, right? But in the young girls, they also have dense breasts, but it's in a kind of different way because the tissue is younger and a little more supple. Older women who have not had pregnancies or breastfed may have more rigid breasts, but when you look at the tissue, it's denser because they have more fibrous and aging tissue being placed between there.
Right.
So that is a challenge for us when we investigating, doing radiological investigation. So in the case of young women and women who have those dense breasts, we usually do ultrasound because it is very.
Okay, we've experienced a little issue there with Dr. Nixon. Let's take a break and we will come back. Stay with us, don't go anywhere.
Broadcast.
Foods safe after an emergency or disaster. In case of a power outage, keeping the refrigerator door closed will keep foods safe for about 4 hours. Throw out refrigerated leftovers and perishable foods after 4 hours. A message from the Grenada Food and Nutrition Council in collaboration with the Ministry of Health with support from the Pan American Health Organization.
Introducing Color by Sissons. Color by Sissons. Color by Sissons. Color by Sissons. Sissons.
Hills and Valley Pharmacy offers both wholesale and retail pharmaceutical and over-the-counter products. We have the most competitive and affordable prices. We are the agents for Vit Plus multivitamin for healthy everyday lifestyle and Sanatogen powder. Hills and Valley Pharmacy supplies the best quality, name brand clinical products such as Rescue Oil, Bio Oil, Neutrogena, Aveeno, and Clarisil. We offer the most convenient opening hours. Our telephone numbers are 435-6904 or 6903. Remember, at Hills and Valley Pharmacy, your health is our business. We care.
Now open, Hills and Valley Medicare Center, your one-stop for medical supplies, massage therapy, physiotherapy, and an in-house physician. At Hills and Valley, your health is our business.
Drug abuse. Cancer.
Measles. Diabetes. AIDS. Cancer.
Drug abuse. Cancer.
This is a message from the Ministry of Health. If you or a family member suspect that you may have contracted COVID-19 and are displaying symptoms, please immediately self-isolate at home. This means that you must also avoid all contact with other members of your household. Do not visit hospitals or health centers, as this creates the potential for further spread of the virus, and it puts additional persons at risk when you come into contact with them. Your best course of action is to call the COVID-19 hotline at 458-4787 or 538-4787, or contact your nearest health center or medical station. Once your information has been received, health officials will come to you. Help prevent the spread of COVID-19. This has been a message from the Ministry of Health.
GBN Television News at 7, a pulse on all things Grenadian. Look out for our new features through expanded synergies with our media partners in Barbados, St. Lucia, Jamaica, Trinidad, and beyond. Capturing the latest in news, sports, weather, and entertainment. Credible, informative. Thank you for making us number one. News at 7, live, Monday to Friday on GBN Television, Channel 7 and 11. K105.5 and 105.9, Hot 98.5 and 98.7, GBN Television Facebook page and YouTube channel, and www.gbn.gd. GBN, with you anywhere and everywhere.
Drug abuse. Cancer.
Measles. Diabetes. AIDS.
Welcome back, folks, and we do apologize for that. We had a little issue there with one of our power connections, so we sincerely apologize for that. But we're back, and of course, Dr. Nixon is right here. Doc, welcome back, and we do apologize again. Just before we got shut out there, we were talking about the dense tissues, and you were making reference to doing ultrasounds.
Yes, I was saying that if you in order to get an efficient and reliable mammogram examination, you need to kind of press the breast tissue. The denser it is, the more difficult it becomes, and so it's even more difficult. It means that you may not have appropriate penetration of the rays to get a picture of what's going on in the tissue. So we recommend an ultrasound. And there are people who are very, very, very well trained to do breast ultrasound. As a matter of fact, there is recommendation that be the method so we don't expose people to much radiation when screening radiologically for breast cancer.
Okay. Doc, is there a difference between the ultrasound and the mammogram?
Yes, an ultrasound is like taking a picture.
Right.
First, it doesn't entail so much radiology, okay? So much radiation.
Right.
That's the word. My vocabulary is really failing me tonight. So it does not take it. It's the same thing you do when women go to, if you're having a baby, and they put a little gel and they all over it. That's different. The technique for examining the breast is much different than if you were just looking at a baby. It's two totally different things. But it's the same mechanism, if you understand. You use a thing like, probably at the bottom of your glass, put a little gel over the tissue and you go around, and the radiographer interprets what she sees on the screen and gives a report to the doctor or to the radiologist, who would give a report to the doctor, and decisions to be taken from there.
All right. But what about women who have very small breasts? How difficult it is? Can that create a problem when you need to do a mammogram?
So God, in her infinite goodness, decided that we can do ultrasound, because you can really use ultrasound for screening. You can use ultrasound for screening, and I'll tell you about diagnosing in a while. You can use ultrasound for follow-up because it's that advanced, and now we have 2D and 3D and 4D ultrasounds. So technology has given us the advantage to be able to use something as simple as ultrasound, as non-invasive as ultrasound, as available as ultrasound to screen for cancer of the breast.
Right.
So I was saying, in trying to diagnose, we can also use ultrasound. The most efficient way of diagnosing breast cancer, so you may find a lump, okay? And when if a doctor finds a lump, regardless of whether it's a benign lump or that is a non-cancerous, or it is a malignant lump, or what we call a cancerous lump, the doctor looks at the breast, the radiographer, the technician who does the sum, and they indicate exactly where it is. So they use the breast as a clock face, okay? And they start from 12 o'clock, just as on the clock, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And they say whether it's closer to the navel, to the nipple, or inside. You understand? Whether it's closer to up in the axillary area. So it tells you at 12 o'clock, I find a lump that is 1 centimeter by 2.5 centimeters that seems X, Y, Z way. And then you can come to conclusion as to whether it may be something you want to follow. Who says, it's a simple cyst, that's it. Go on, make it go on, right? In the case of doing a biopsy, and a biopsy is necessary to get a final diagnosis. So the technician, the radiographer may find a lump, or what we call a lesion, a thing, right? A lump that looks suspicious. And she says it's in the right breast at 11 o'clock, close to the nipple. So get an idea of it, okay? A biopsy is required. A biopsy basically is taking you have a special mechanism, kind of, those things that you put in your hand when they're giving you a drip? It's kind of like that, except that you pull it back out with a little piece of tissue. So you have a needle inside with a special way. You push it with a tube, pull the tissue out, and then you take it out. You take out the plastic part. Do you understand? It's called a needle biopsy. So what you do is an ultrasound-guided biopsy. So 2 people are required. Sometimes the radiologist does it, Sometimes the surgeon does it with a technician who, goes find exactly where the lump is, and he says, go further, to where you find the tissue looks like you might be able to get the best results from there. Okay, so that is the most efficient thing of doing. In the past, we used to go into the breast, look for the lump, take out the whole lump. Now, with ultrasound, you can do an ultrasound guided biopsy. Some people do a biopsy because you can feel the lump, but sometimes they still miss the cancerous part and say, oh, this doesn't look cancerous, and it can be. So if you have an ultrasound that says exactly, see where that part of it is, it looks a little different, send the needle right in because you can see it on ultrasound. Put your needle right in there, and you take out the tissue, and that you take to the lab. And that should give you quite an accurate answer as to whether the tissue does actually have any malignant quality.
Right, Doc. I came across something, while I was doing some reading on the issue of breast cancer, and I came across something referred to as triple negative breast cancer. I never heard about that before.
And?
But I want to know what it is.
I'm not too sure I can explain it to you, but some people can have different diagnoses and still say that you don't have breast cancer when in fact you do.
Right.
There's some that are very, very, very difficult to diagnose. So it's not like the doctor is not looking for it, right? So, for example, you can have cancerous lesions in the ducts. The passages through which the milk comes, right? Mm-hmm. And you can miss. Sometimes you have like an inflammatory form of cancer that you do everything. You do a mammogram, you do a biopsy, you do an ultrasound, poof, you don't see anything, but it's there. So those are some of the situations.
Okay. Now, I want us to come home. We've sort of, because we've done programs on breast cancer before. I want us to come home. Breast cancer awareness. We do have a cancer society. Let's talk about what is happening this year, because usually, and you mentioned earlier that we used to have a cancer walk, of course, to help raise awareness. That cannot be done this year. Of course, COVID-19 has put a damper on a lot of things. Let's talk a little bit about what is happening with the Cancer Society, with some emphasis on breast cancer, and what kind of support is available for our women with breast cancer, and of course also helping women to understand how they can reduce the risk of having breast cancer.
So we're talking about preventing cancer. And I think in saying so is preventing cancer death, because sometimes you really just can't avoid it, okay? The Cancer Society is committed, and despite the limitations, because we have not been able to go out and screen because of we've been asked not to really, to go out and do it. However, we do have a mobile unit that we plan. Once we get this COVID-19 thing under control, we would collaborate with our partners. Our partners include the public health system. It includes Pink Ribbon. It includes St. Andrew Development Organization that has a vibrant breast cancer awareness movement, and other people, and going and using the other development organizations to be able to penetrate communities where women still haven't had the message. We want to focus a lot on education. Together with PAHO and SGU, we actually developing a site for women, people to get information, a platform where women can go on, anybody can go on, information of cancers in general, and of course breast cancer, because information is necessary. Knowledge is power. If you know what's going on, you can take action to do this. We're going to be handing out pamphlets. We're not walking, but we're going to be wearing our t-shirts. There's a thing called Pink Day that is happening all over the world. We just ask people to remember, but not just for the style, but remember why we're doing this. Just to remind ourselves that, yes, if I'm a female, I should learn. If I have not yet learned, this is a year when I should learn to do my self-breast examination. You may not hear that if you're living in the first world, because they have access to more highly technical ways of screening women on a regular basis. But we want women to understand their breast. So once something starts going wrong, you will know. So those are some of the things we're asking people to do. Go out. We've been giving talks to groups. Of course, on the internet, I spoke to a group of young women today, and young men were there as well, which for me was very intriguing. We ask in churches, communities, everybody, talk about this thing. Because we have to, unless we talk about it, we're not going to get comfortable with it. We've come a long way, we must say, because in the beginning, people used to tell you they have the big C. And you can imagine whatever that. And the only thing is that you hear the person die after, because some of us will die if we do not seek early care. You want, if a woman should have a breast lump that ends up being malignant, that she recognizes it very early, and she goes and gets whatever treatment is necessary to prevent further complications. Okay, so there's not spread out of breast tissue, that you can remove what's there. In most cases, if you have an early diagnosed breast cancer, you can have your lump removed, you get your chemotherapy, and some people get up for radiotherapy, and you go on with your life. As women who've been surviving for 30 years in this country, because there are women, you don't want your breast cancer to go beyond a stage 2, okay? If it is there, if we develop breast cancer, we should figure it out by stage 1, so that we can go on with our lives and live normal, don't have to remove the whole breast. When it comes to further spread, when it's already adherent to the wall, sometimes you really do have to remove the breast and remove all the lymph nodes, so that you don't have spread through that lymphatic system, which carries a lot of the white cells and stuff. So that's we want partners to talk about it. We want people to talk about this. Women sit and have a discussion. We inside from 7 o'clock. So we're going to talk to your girlfriend. That's one of the things we should talk about. Just like we've been telling each other, talking these long conversations about coronavirus vaccines. In the same way, talk about breast cancer. So it becomes something that you're comfortable with. Ask questions. Learn to do self-breast examination. If you don't know how to do it, ask your nurse, ask your friends, because a lot of women here who know how to do it. Or ask a doctor. When you go for a doctor, I teach all of my female patients how to do their self-breast examination, because that's empowerment for them. That's them knowing how to take care of themselves. Okay, and our colleagues really should, encourage all other women. If you haven't had a baseline mammogram and you're 45 years old, you should go and have a mammogram. Okay, really, we ask women in that age, because you're at increased risk. Go get a mammogram. Ask a doctor to send you for a mammogram, or go to the health center. Just ask the doctor to write it for you.
Okay, wonderful. Doc, our telephone line is going. Let's go to the telephone and entertain some questions or comments. Dr. and Call, good evening.
A pleasant good evening.
Yes, sir, good evening.
I would like to compliment Dr. Nixon on the wealth of information that is given. But I have one problem, and that problem is, you have the Cancer Society and all other things. She also spoke about menopause and all the rest of it. Do we get to the church to educate women, etc.? And I want to go further. The question of menopause, that seems to be given a problem, and it affects women in many ways. And to my utter amazement, I visited my doctor a couple of years ago, and my doctor was speaking about, she mentioned men having breast cancer and men being affected by menopause. I was taken aback. He said, yes, men do have a problem with menopause. Now again, as far as Grenada is concerned, all right, you have this little group, the Cancer Society, and groups here and there. Grenada being a 2x4 island, what percentage of the population would learn about your breast cancer and so as you're speaking about it? How many women know, as you speak, Doc, are listening? And I think that, teenage years and so right up to, all right, matured people should be educated along those lines. Yes, let me hear you, please.
Thank you, caller. Doc?
Those are great comments. And like I tell you, we have to get to a point where we're comfortable to talk about things. And if we can speak about it openly on air, we can start to speak about it in our families. Because instead of spending time on our phone, TikToking and looking at foolishness, those are the things we go online and read. And we, above all, we need to support each other. Because I find when women, in particular, in the case of breast cancer, support each other, and it becomes an easier thing to talk about. Okay? It's fearful to think you have cancer because everybody thinks they're going to die. No, we're not all going to die from cancer, not if we can figure it out first and act on it long before it takes control of our life. And as a gentleman called, I want men to understand that those are conversations that they must have with their female partners. Okay? They must facilitate the women going to the doctor, encouraging them. I ask women to go to the doctor, ask everybody to give yourself a birthday gift. Men, go check your prostate, right? Check your heart, check your cholesterol, check your blood pressure, see how your kidney is functioning, see it's time to stop smoke, how I can manage to cut down the amount of alcohol, how I can start eating properly, let me get rid of this bare belly, okay? On your birthday, when your birthday comes around, that is your birthday gift. Women in the same thing, in the same way, you know. It's my birthday, let me do my mammogram, if you're age for mammogram, over 40 is when it is recommended, but you don't have to do a mammogram, you can do an ultrasound. Get my pap smear, get my breast examined, learn it as well, check my blood pressure, my cholesterol, all of these things we need to do because, yes, we're talking about breast cancer, but we're talking about breast cancer within a bigger context. We're talking about breast cancer, for example, today, this October 21, within the context of COVID-19, and look at how we've been affected. Why do we have to be also careful in this context of COVID-19? Because we have not been able to go out and get screened. It would be a shame that women don't recognize that they have lumps when this is something you can do at home, right? It would be a shame that we have a big outburst after coronavirus of all kind of malignancies, especially things that we can diagnose early. So people have to be aware, and we all have to support one another in whichever community, the church, in your communities, regular community centers, in your workplace. Talk to your friends, talk to your girlfriends. Don't be afraid to raise the point because we have to kill that kind of taboo and stigma that exists around it. But it's something for all of us to do. And the organization that you mentioned, sir, the Cancer Society, Pink Ribbon, some of the development agencies, even the church, because like the Seventh-day Adventist Church has a health arm, okay? Even the church, the health centers, wherever it is, go seek information, get support from them. There's a lot of material online. If you go to, I'm looking here at National Breast Cancer Foundation, you can get free material. You can go to PAHO or WHO. There's a lot of information for us. You can go to the Cancer Society. There's a lot of pamphlets and stuff to read. You go to the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health. There too, in the health centers, there's information for us to read. Where you don't understand, ask somebody, but we have to do this all on our own and support each other together, collectively.
Right. Doc, there's something you mentioned earlier, and I think it's very, very important as it relates to women with cancer, especially young women and their partners. So someone may be diagnosed, and for whatever reason, they have to remove the breast. So it interferes with the appearance, the appeal. In some cases, that can cause a woman to be under some, mental strain, feel a little, I'm probably less of a woman kind of thing. Support in cases like that is very important. How do we deal with situations? How do we give support to women like this? And I want you to probably direct your comments to probably the partners, the males.
So it's very difficult for partners when this happens because this is not something you're going to discuss with your male friends because already they think in a bad way, okay? Boy, you know, they're probably the men who say, oh, this woman is not the same value. You can stay with her. And I can tell you, I've seen a young woman, she developed breast cancer really early, in her very late 20s. And her husband divorced her. He left her because he couldn't stand to see her without breast. But that's the immaturity of it. What was worse is that she ended up having all of the bills to pay, thousands of dollars, and had a lot of fiscal problems, a lot of legal problems because she had these bills that she owed the government. But that's another story. It is difficult for males, for spouses, but remember, it's also difficult for children. So don't leave them out. So it's difficult from an intimacy standpoint, from fear, especially if you have a spouse who's diagnosed later. God forbid, okay? If you have a spouse that's diagnosed later and you have younger children probably off. So it means that you and your spouse are, you know, you're like a ride and be. Your spouse gets ill, she has cancer, she's sick, she has to go through chemotherapy and stuff. It's very difficult. But the Cancer Society does offer support. The Cancer Society does offer some psychological support if it is solicited. They also offer support to people who are going for therapy, you know, who are going for surgery. Because, you know, removing of all the rest sometimes with the lymph nodes is called a radical mastectomy. That's not a pretty word, but it means you take out everything. So you come back with a flat chest on one side, which you're not accustomed to from your little girl, right? And when you're a little girl, at least you had hoped that it would grow at some stage, right? However, here you come back and you have to face a society. You may not be able to find proper prosthesis to make you look normal. In first world countries, they might remove the breast tissue, but they might do an implant immediately, so you have the aesthetics replaced. So there are lots of layers on the onion, but often there are facilities for support, you know, for persons who are going to be affected indirectly by cancer, in breast cancer in particular, in their spouses.
Okay. What about having to go through a situation like this and probably going into states of depression from time to time?
Yeah. So whenever you have prolonged stress, people can become depressed. But like I said, there is support. And the Cancer Society, the people at the oncology clinic, oncology is a specialty that deals with cancers, recognize and try and get support for people who have challenges. And I find generally they develop good relationship with the people. The nurses are in there, wonderful. Oncologists are usually very empathetic and very understanding. So they're a good people to talk to so that the support can be sought. And I can tell you, when you're going for surgery, it's probably one of the hardest time because first of all, you don't know what they're going to find when they get in there, how much surgery they may need to do, especially in the past when we didn't have ultrasound and stuff to tell us. But still, you get it there, it could be anything. But you can have some support before, so you're prepared. Also remember that families are affected because of the financial burden that cancer therapy brings on families. So you might have children in school, or you know, probably just finishing pay off their mortgage and have to stop it and pay for radiotherapy, especially chemo and radiotherapy, which we don't have on island. And that is why it is so much more important to ensure that we can diagnose, if there's cancer, that we can diagnose early, because we don't have radiotherapy, and that's expensive.
Right. I'm staying with support for a bit. When you have, let's say, chemotherapy, there are little complications that come with that. Excuse me. So in addition to probably having the breast removed because of cancer, or you have to go through this sort of operations, chemotherapy, radiotherapy, whatever it is, there are additional issues that you have to deal with, which means that you may be under a little more strain than normal. So you're living in your family setting. You probably have your children, you have your husband, all of that. You have one problem. What would you say to the family of someone who has to undergo those kind of little stresses as a result of breast cancer?
I need to explain to families as well exactly what this is all about, because they can't support somebody unless they understand exactly what is going on here.
Right.
Okay? So families, you're talking about extended family here, right?
Yes.
Or spouse and children.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about both?
Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right. So I think you also need to counsel family, because somebody who's had their whole breast removed can't do hard work. You have to wait until that scar is formed, especially if you had breast and the lymph nodes into the axilla. You have a lot of physiotherapy apart from your chemotherapy. Chemotherapy is where you get medication, whether it is by mouth or in your veins, right? Radiation therapy is where they put rays, special rays on the breast to try and burn out whatever cancer cells may be there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, in that, you would have also burnout of good cells. Okay, let's remember that. Radiation therapy may also cause things like hair loss and stuff. So you kind of need to give the family the whole gamut of possibilities can be. Chemotherapy sometimes causes severe nausea and vomiting and fatigue, right? I've seen people who have developed dementia because the chemotherapy doesn't just go to the point where it is, where the cancer is. It goes all over your body. So you lose our hair. Sometimes you don't lose our hair because they have other things that can be like where they put these tight caps on the people's hair, so it keeps it presses against the scalp, so the chemotherapy doesn't get the medication will get into the scalp and cause the follicles to drop off.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that they do in first world countries. But you really kind of need to include, because there's no way that any person can go through this length of disease, of unwellness, without requiring the support of others. But the others must be informed. So it takes. This is when the village comes in. All who closely have to understand, because I can tell you, sometimes if you are very ill, think about a 10-year-old girl or 10-year-old boy watching his mom pass from cancer. What if she's the only bread winner in the house, right? What if she was not just a breadwinner, she might have income. What if she had a business she was running and she can't be there and the funds don't come in because all the goodwill lies with her? Mm-hmm. What if she passes? What happens if the time she's really very ill? And I had a young friend that happened to, she was going to come into college, her mom was dying of breast cancer, right? And she, as bright as that girl is, it was very difficult for her to do her work. So we have to understand all of how other people are affected by the presence of somebody who is very ill. Because remember, with breast cancer, a woman may have already be extremely ill. Mm-hmm. Okay? There's that period as well where, let's say you don't die, you have breath, you have things. You know, you have to readjust yourself, not just the way how you look is very important. How you feel about how you look is a different story, right? Reincorporation into work, it may mean, let's say you work on the computer all day. Or if you work in a factory and to lift box and put things in box, it might be very difficult. What if you're a lady who are cleaning lady and you've had your breast removed? How are you going to clean, pulling mop and broom back and forth? All of those things have to be taken into consideration in relation to reincorporation. We also need to consider situations of just having support after becoming a part of a support group like Pink Ribbon, okay? Where women talk about their own experiences, how they manage. And it's very important that you have people who have transitioned through something as serious as breast cancer and have survived 25 and 30 years. So women understand, I can do this too. What did you do? Sharing their own experiences and offering support in a support group is very, very crucial. So there's Pink Ribbon as an entity that really offers support. And there are people who are members of Pink Ribbon who are males, who never had cancer, but who want to learn and who want to give people support, help with fundraising, whatever it is. And then there's sometimes a time when you have end-of-life issues where a woman may be very ill and need hospice care because she's just really ill. Because remember, some of us can be older or iller and will die. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, we don't have any official hospice. So a lot of Hospice is where you go, where you go to die with dignity. Where people are there, they offer you emotional support, psychological support, spiritual support, whatever, right? And there are people who are trained who are very good at that, right? To offer to women who are going to pass, right, because of this malignancy. But we don't have any official hospice facility in Grenada, so it means that hospice often occurs home on the last days you go to the hospital to die. So that comfort and that dignity and that support and that care and those last good moments sometimes are lost, okay? It therefore means that we're going to have to find a way to train families or to go out and support families, have trainers who go into communities where women are in their family homes, but the families offered support, that a nurse can go in and check on her every so often, make sure that her care is optimal and all the rest of it. So those are some of the things that the Cancer Society is looking at, especially coming towards the end of life, to see how we can make that whole cancer experience in the first place as positive as possible, right? Making sure that we offer screening, because the objective of the Cancer Society is two things. One, to offer education and to provide for screening and offer some support after screening to people. So, and guide you as to how you go along. And of course, like I said, offer support. Different forms of support, but offer support generally to families of women, in the case of breast cancer, who are experiencing this.
Right. Doc, let's take our final commercial break. When we come back, we'll open more telephone lines and, invite our callers. Stay with us. We'll be back with you in just a moment.
Cancer.
Measles. Diabetes. AIDS.
Hills and Valley Pharmacy offers both wholesale and retail pharmaceutical and over-the-counter products. We have the most competitive and affordable prices. We are the agents for Vit Plus multivitamin for healthy everyday lifestyle and Sanatogen powder. Hills and Valley Pharmacy supplies the best quality, name brand clinical products such as Rescue Oil, Bio Oil, Neutrogena, Aveeno, and Clarisil. We offer the most convenient opening hours. Our telephone numbers are 435-6904 or 6903. Remember, at Hills and Valley Pharmacy, your health is our business. We care.
Now open, Hills and Valley Medicare Center, your one-stop for medical supplies, massage therapy, physiotherapy, and an in-house physician. At Hills and Valley, your health is our business.
You can now send a gift card to your loved ones locally or internationally thanks to the food fair. Here's how it works. Click the gift card icon or banner. Customize your gift card by choosing from different templates, dollar amount, and personalized messages. You can also upload your personal design. Select Add to Cart and complete transaction. Allow relatives and friends to pick up an item or items at the food fair for the dollar value. Gift card. It's that easy.
When a loved one passes on, we all need the comfort, support, and guidance of a trusted friend. You can rely on LaCour Brothers Funeral Home. We provide a personalized professional service that exceeds all expectations. Our dedicated staff responds to your every need with the greatest detail, ensuring affordability with a variety of options. Our upgraded state-of-the-art facilities, spacious air-conditioned chapel with live internet streaming, a modern, environmentally safe crematorium, the only of its kind on island, private viewing spaces, large on-site repast center, a modern transportation fleet. Join our burial society today and make personalized arrangements for that final moment as you prepare to enter your loved one into eternal rest. Visit or call LaCour Brothers Funeral Home and select a package that brings added comfort to the entire family. LaCour Brothers Funeral Home and Burial Society, continuing a tradition of excellence.
Drug abuse. Cancer.
Measles.
Welcome back, folks. It's Dr. on Call, and our telephone line is open. The number is 435-2041. So if you have any questions for Dr. Nixon, you can give us a call now. The number again, 435-2041. 2041. You can call with your question or comments, or you probably may have a little experience you'd like to share with us. You can definitely do that right now. The number again, 435-2041. Doc, a question for you as it relates to people with cancer, and I'm asking you that, of course, because we are in COVID times, people with cancer and being exposed to other infections or other little medical issues. Let's talk a little bit about that.
So cancer already is like a big insult. You already have something attacking your immune system, okay? And the very fact that you have cancer shows that your immune system is weaker. And that is why it's very important for early diagnosis and to make sure that you don't have an active cancer just growing in your body, because your defense system is constantly trying to fight whatever this crazy thing, what's going on here. I need to manage this. Okay, so it's very important. In this time of COVID in particular, it is very important that women are able to ensure that if they already have cancers, that things are under control. Because you can have cancer but be healthy. You can have high blood pressure and be healthy. You can have a lot of stuff. Please make sure that you check yourself and that everything is fine. If you have a lump that's growing there and you're concerned, go get it done, because the coronavirus likes these opportunistic states where your defense system is low. Okay? And what may happen is that you may not be able to mobilize your own immune status in order to prevent the coronavirus to get you. If you're stable and you're fine, if you're stable, go get your vaccine. It's very important, because that is going to give you an added piece of ammunition in the fight against coronavirus. And I'm saying, if you already have cancer, you're already at a greater risk for being affected, getting the virus, but not only getting the virus, becoming very ill and passing. If you're stable, go get your vaccine, get your doctor to check and say, now you're good. Because I have friends who have cancer, breast cancer, etc., who have had their vaccines because they know they have to give themselves that added protection. Mm-hmm. Okay? It is the reality. Like I said, I keep telling people, when we have conquered this pandemic, and we will have to conquer the pandemic, because we just can't all lie back and die, okay? When we have conquered this pandemic, I want everybody who's here to say, hey, I went through that hard time, but I took a chance on me. I took a chance on me, right? An educated chance, an evidence-based chance that taking my vaccine on top of leading a healthy lifestyle, because you have to lead a healthy lifestyle and you still have to wear your mask. And of course, because I'm home and you're in the studio alone, we're not wearing masks tonight, but I wear masks once I'm in the presence of anybody else. Mm-hmm. All right, so I'm reminding you guys. But I would really want for all of us to be here said, yes, I was a cancer patient, but I had my vaccine, so coronavirus didn't conquer me. I had high blood pressure, I had diabetes. And remember too, you may have cancer and have all of these other diseases, which means that the immune system is even more struggling harder, right? When this crazy drunken, I don't want to say this bad character virus comes and he just wants to take our breath away. No pun intended here. He comes to kill, comes to conquer and to kill, right? We have to make sure that we have our own defense system so we can deal with it.
Right. Now, generally, when we hear of breast cancer, of course, women come to mind immediately. But of course, we've learned that men can also get breast cancer. But before we talk about that, let's go to the telephone. Dr. and Call, good evening. Hello.
Hello, good night.
Yes, good evening, caller.
Dr. and Call?
Yes.
Okay. Good night, Doc, and glad to have you on the program. I need to ask a question. Many people are asking this question concerning the COVID and the injection. How many vaccines you have to take in the Pfizer.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
He's asking you how many how many injections you have to take with the Pfizer vaccine?
2, you have to take, and that's correct, 2 injections for the vaccine.
Okay, and
the complete vaccine is 2 shots.
Okay, and if someone
within 3 weeks, you can go to 6 weeks, but within 3 weeks of each other is when you're required to take it.
Okay, and if someone take one and they didn't go back and get any...
I'm not hearing.
If someone took one and they didn't go back and take the other one, could it cause any harm or damage to the health?
Well, the damage to your health is that you're leaving a door open for coronavirus. So if you didn't take a vaccine, I suggest you go and take the second one. You're better off taking it late, but you're taking it because there's still some immune. I don't know what time span you're speaking of. What you're talking about? If it took one, how long ago?
Well, if they took one and they had to go back and take another, and maybe they didn't consider and didn't go at all, and time passed, could it do them any harm?
It shouldn't, but it's not going to be the protection that they require against the vaccine. So they should really go back and take their second shot.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, caller. Our telephone number 435-2041. You can call with your questions or your comments also. Let's go back to the telephone. Dr. on call, good evening.
Yes, good evening. I have another question. Now, like prostate cancer, men have to avoid certain foods, fry and other things. And the specific foods that men can take to, fight the prostate cancer. With regards to women and breast cancer, I can't remember hearing this sometime I joined the program. Are there specific foods that women should avoid with, let's say, regards to breast cancer? Let me hear you, please, Doc.
Thank you very much.
So, we mentioned alcohol, which we consume a lot of, but socially, everybody takes a drink. Most people have a drink at some time. Alcohol in excess was definite. But highly fatty foods and stuff, first of all, it's going to make us obese. And obesity is probably one of the biggest factors. But, we asked to eat low-fat foods, your grain, eat healthy. Lots of yellow and green vegetables. You eat a lot of fruit and avoid those things that cause inflammation, a lot of inflammation, which is a very generic term. The white foods, the white rice, all of those highly processed foods, white rice, pasta. The amount of pasta I see selling in here, I feel like I'm in China. Right? Everybody eats pasta. And in Italy, everybody eats pasta, but we eat too much pasta. You can have some pasta, but people eat pasta every day. We give our children ramen. That thing for me, as far as I'm concerned, is just cardboard and salt water. Guess what? The Mexicans, I think, just banned the importation of ramen into their country as a means of keeping their children from getting obese. And obesity is one of the greatest risk factors. And it comes from eating a lot of carbs, and it comes from eating a lot of fat. So that's what I think. A lot of green vegetables, eat what we call healthy. And if you're going to eat starch, we have lots of indigenous foods. I'm not telling you to eat the whole hand of banana, but you can eat 2 grains of fig. Yes. I'm not telling you to eat a whole head of yam. You can eat 2 slices of yam. Not all of them together. You're going to have a grain of fig, 1 grain of fig, a slice of yam. Depends on what you do. We don't do a lot of hard work. Most of us spend a lot of time sitting doing whatever we do. So our need for carbohydrates is not great. Okay, our need for starchy food is not great. So therefore, we should be really focusing on eating a lot of vegetables, peas and beans, drinking a lot of water to help us to eliminate all the waste, right? And not having too much meat, especially fatty meat. We eat a lot of cheap, fatty meats, we have to be very careful. You don't have to have meat in your food, but if you do, make sure you have a piece of fish. There are a lot of fish. If you're going to eat chicken without all the fat and the back end that they give us, all it does is make us have high cholesterol, right? And all of those things. Just eat nice, healthy foods. And those are things, if you go to Food and Nutrition Council site on the internet, they have a myriad of recipes with using indigenous foods. There's a recipe book that was designed for children because we have to actually start our children from small doing what they have to do, eating how they have to eat. If you give your children pasta, they're going to eat pasta till they get big. If you give your children salt, they're going to eat salty foods. If you cut down the salt and remove the sugar-sweetened beverages, or the pretty color boxing that we buy, that's too much sugar. That's not good for us. That's not good for us at all. It makes us sick, and it makes us not prepared to deal with the changes that happen in our bodies. And on top of it, we don't even know what all those preservatives do. Are they causing genetic changes in tissues in our body? Maybe they are. So eating healthy, natural foods is what we have. Grow it in the bush, right? Get cow manure and sheep manure and chicken manure and put it in the soil and eat healthy foods. Not having to go to the supermarket and buy boxed juice and all those foolishness is going to make us a healthier nation that lives longer and that is able to combat diseases even better and live longer even if we have acquired diseases.
Okay, 435-2041, that's the number you can call, folks. So, Doc, let's just, we're getting close to a wrap-up time, but breast cancer in men.
Yes. So there is a small, very small percentage of men who come with breast cancer because men also have breast tissue, right? And remember, you have both hormones in the body, both male and female hormones, and men can have breast cancer. So I'm going to tell men, if you feel a little pea, a little seed in your breast, it's not supposed to be there at all, right? But you have nice flat chest to examine. So every man, you go to the bathroom, sometimes you like to bear a rag and don't touch your body, which is part of the problem, even for women, and maybe I should talk about that after. But take your hand and pass on your breast tissue, on your chest. If you find a lump within the breast tissue, you need to see a doctor immediately, okay? If you're always examining yourself, you know there's a change, right? Part of the problem with our women is that we kind of have a lot of taboo around touching our bodies. All right? It is very important that we become comfortable with ourselves and not sexualize what our bodies are. If we are comfortable with ourselves, trust me, we'll be able to examine our breasts without any ado. There's a seminar I'm going to talk. I want to tell women there's a seminar on at St. George's University where they will teach us the techniques to perform self-breast examination and, take action, take power over the health of our own breast. It's going to be next week, Wednesday. It's going to be online. And they suggest that you go in and sign up. So you go to S as in Sonia, O as in Orange, -WIM. Women in Medicine, WIM at sgu.edu, right? So those of you can write it down. I think Godfrey is going to put it up again, if he can, subsequently on other programs. But we need to have this. SO-WIM at sgu.edu, and then they'll give you access to the Zoom line. They'll send you an email, and then you'll be able to do this next week Wednesday. And it goes on for like an hour. And they usually have like specialists and people who are experts out of the US and people from here as well, and a lot of the young students who are really very interested in protecting women's health, women in medicine, very interested in women in medicine.
Right.
Women's health.
Yeah. Doc, we have a question on our WhatsApp platform. Someone says, informative program. Doctor, my mom is a breast cancer survivor for over 12 years. She had a mastectomy. She's still experiencing occasional stiffness and was advised not to sleep on the side where she had the mastectomy. What are your thoughts?
So I guess because when you lie on the side, you put a lot of pressure. And because you don't really have like the lymph nodes and stuff there to help with the drainage of whatever swelling may occur there, you're advised not to lie on that side. 12-year survival is good. I hope that she's taken off. You usually get medications to prevent recurrence, but you also still need to follow up, mommy. You need to go and get your follow up because breast cancer can appear. Remember, you're still a girl who has had predisposition. Breast cancer can appear in the other breasts. As her daughter, guess what, daughter? If you have other aunties and cousins and stuff who have breast cancer, you probably can do genetic testing. It's not done here, but your doctor should be able to facilitate you getting it done in somewhere like Barbados to figure out whether you have the gene for developing breast cancer. But you need to be doing your examination. You need to be aware that this exists in very close family, and so I should check myself. But of course, living the proper lifestyle is going to attenuate that potential.
Okay, let's go to our telephone. Dr. Call, good evening.
Yes, I want to ask a question that may sound quite laughable, but I'll ask it. Now, if a man is diagnosed with breast cancer, could he be treated as a woman is treated where you remove part of the breast? You know, as I say, I'm laughing, but I mean to be mocking or anything like this. But if something like this happens, what can the doctor do to such an individual? Thank you.
Thank you, caller. I think it's a very pertinent question.
I think it's a very good question, actually. So, you might say, oh, this man doesn't have a lot of breast. Here's what it is. Everybody is treated based on how you find them, the clinical stage when you find them, right? There's not a lot of breast tissue to remove to start with, but you might have to remove all that is there. But it depends on what stage you find the person at, okay? So the treatment is individual. Yes, they may need chemotherapy as well. Yes, they may need radiotherapy as well. But your oncologist will decide. Between your surgeon and the oncologist. Surgeon because he's going to remove the tissue, the oncologist because he's going to be the one taking care of you from a clinical standpoint. They will decide what therapy you require. But that's a very good question.
Yes, indeed. Someone else is asking, Doc, good night. Have you had many success stories of people with stage 5 breast cancer? I want to know if it is possible at all at stage 5 to survive.
I don't know about stage 5 and what stage 4.
It's the first time I'm hearing about stage 5 as well.
So stage 5 means that you have spread to other tissues, distant tissues like chest, brain, wherever, okay? So I knew somebody, although the person passed recently, who had stage 4 cancer, but they lived in North America and had access, so they had several surgeries. After a while, it becomes a little tiring because people don't want to go through any more surgeries because we keep trying to remove the new tissue that appears in whichever remote part of your body, far from removed from the distant from the original site of the cancer. So in the case of breast, it might go to lung, it might go to brain, you know. Some women get backbone, spinal, your spine, your bony part of your spine, they get spread there. So it becomes very, very, very difficult at that point. And some people just would rather be at peace because it also means that you might have a lot of neurological problems in your brain. You might have a lot of pain in your back, difficulty to walk. Spread to your liver means that it starts going crazy. Once it crosses from one chamber in your body to another, it becomes difficult to control. So stage 4 cancer can probably be controlled, but with a lot of difficulty. I don't know, and there probably are miraculous situations that can be found out and shared, but I don't know of people surviving for very long.
Okay. Could a dependent factor depend on where the cancer is located? Let's say, for example, your soft tissue organs like pancreas, spleen, etc.
You mean original cancer?
Yeah.
There's some organs that don't have no respect, okay? And they will do like house on fire. So like pancreas is usually by the time you're diagnosed, pancreas is usually not a very good prognosis.
Okay.
You don't have activity to wait on. Like I said, what do you ask pancreas where? Kidney?
Yeah. Spleen and things like that.
Yeah. I hardly hear of splenic cancers. It's very, very rare. Hardly have small bowel cancers, but large bowel is very common. And I mean, some that can be controlled with our diets, and at the age of 50, you should start doing colonoscopies to look in there and see, because you can diagnose early and be fine. So it depends on where it is, how it behaves.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Doc. So, Doc, we're practically out of time. Your closing remarks on, of course, Breast Cancer Awareness Month and everything surrounding that.
Again, this is the 10th year of us proposing our walk, which is not going to happen. First Caribbean Bank, which now come under new management, normally walks. They have provided the t-shirts, but there's no walk or anything this year. But we have t-shirts. So we're going to ask people to support us. You can get a t-shirt from First Caribbean. It's only $25. And usually all the funds that come from the t-shirt goes towards the Cancer Society and to the Pink Ribbon to help with our programs. So First Caribbean Bank or Cancer Society or my office. My office is in Blue Street Mall. So if you want to come, 410-6789, easy to remember, just call and tell us what you want. We order the t-shirt. It's $25 and their sizes for children. I think 4 to 6, 6 to 8, 10 to 12, and 14 to 16. I think those are the sizes that we have. So please, create that awareness in your children, because this is something that we have. Cancer is still the #1 cause of death. We're not going to come corona because we're going to soon get rid of her. But cancer is the #1 cause of death, right? In people in Grenada, and breast cancer is the #1 cancer killer of women.
Mm-hmm.
We have awareness. We have to provide services for screening. We have to educate people. We have to empower people to understand. You have to go out into the country, go into the nook and cranny, and let everybody be able to speak of cancer because they know about it, and they must establish themselves as enemy #1 of cancer. So also on the 29th, everybody is Pink Day. So I'm begging here as a Cancer Society member, wear something pink. If you don't have a t-shirt, wear slippers, wear a bandeau, wear a nice shirt, and collect a little money in the office from everybody and give it to us. Even $1.
Yes. On the 28th?
Is this $1, huh?
On the 28th, you said?
29th October is Pink Day. What's the date today? Today's the
19th.
So that's 10 days from now. So that's a Friday. Right? So Friday the 29th of October is Pink Day. Wear something pink. Tie your hair, wear pink lipstick, wear pink eyeshadow, wear pink shirt, guys, wear pink pants, pink slipper. I don't care what you wear. Wear something pink or wear t-shirts, which are available, like I said, for $25. And just to remind us, but I want to ask people to open the conversation. Start talking. Go on Facebook, not Facebook, go on Google and read about Cancer Society. Go to National Institute and the NCI, National Cancer Institute. They have all the information you need. Go to Susan G. Komen's site. Go to PAHO. Go to just Google Mayo Clinic Cancer, and they give you all the information you need. Simple, and it's there. Talk about it so it becomes something that we understand and something we're not afraid of, right? And if you're concerned, you see a doctor. If you're worried, don't be afraid, because that's why your nurse and your doctor there to ensure that we can, first of all, kill the fear and kill whatever is trying to get with it. Okay? Don't be afraid. call, ask questions, go to the Cancer Society. Once the site is up for information, we will know. We're currently working on this so people can go on. All right? Please support the Green Hill Cancer Society because we would like to go there. So like I said, Pink Day is going to be pink. Everybody wears something pink. I don't care what you wear. And give a little, even $1.
Okay. Doc, thank you very much again for being with us this evening. Of course, discussing Breast Cancer Awareness Month. You heard it from Doc, folks. Let us support. It's important that we support things like this because, you know, our elderly citizens, they have a say. You never know where you're going to fall. All right, so let's all support. Thank you very much for staying with us, and we look forward to being with you again next Tuesday for another Doctor on Call. Tomorrow evening, yes, Doc? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's still coronavirus people, even though we have had a significant decrease in the amount of people who are dead, who have died in the last few days. We've had significant decrease in the people who we find positive. There are lots of people who are positive who do not know. So you still need to wash your hands, you still need to wear your mask, you still need to maintain the social distance. There's no need to go out on parties. Nice to go home in the night and go home and talk about things that we can learn. Go on the internet, share information with your families. And please take your vaccines, especially if you're at risk for chronic diseases.
Yes.
People with cancer are at a greater risk for developing clots. Coronavirus makes you have clots. That's
Indeed.
how people get strokes. That's how their kidneys fail. That's how their pancreas fail. And we're going to talk about that on another occasion, the things that happen after coronavirus. But coronavirus does make you develop clots. Take in front if your foot not good like mine.
All right.
Okay?
Thank you very much. Yes, indeed, folks. So tomorrow evening, I will not be here. I'll be back on Thursday. So, of course, but continue, keep your dials locked into K105. There's always something exciting happening here. Until Thursday, enjoy it. I'm gone. Bye-bye.
AIDS. Cancer.
Drug abuse, cancer,
Measles. Diabetes.